Hey, Bob Carlisle here, and with my hat in my hand.
No, it's fine. I'm just sitting here eating an apple. It's no problem.
All right, I flew out from California, so I thought I'd be up. I'm usually a real early riser, but boy, I wasn't today.
Oh, I don't blame you. It's Friday. I don't know how it is there. It's a lovely, warm, 50-degree day here.
Well, I'm here. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm just I'm on California time.
I hear you. I feel that.
Messed me up. I'm so sorry.
No problem. So has the Greatest Hits tour commenced?
Yes, it has. Last night in was it Knoxville? Not Knoxville. Up in the Knoxville area.
Okay, excellent. So this was the first night of the tour?
That last night was, and tonight will be the second night of the tour.
Well, I like it. So, it's nice to catch you at a very fresh moment where you can tell us. I've heard that first nights of tours are always interesting, trying to get things into sync. But give us a little report. How did it go? What can we expect when it comes here?
It went very well because we've all done this tour before together.
That's right.
We did the tour before last fall. So we're doing the same stuff. So it was like riding a bike. It was really fun.
Well, good. So, so we have New Song as part of this tour, are they?
Right.
And we have
New Song and Avalon and me and Point of Grace and Nicole C. Mullen, and I think that's it.
Very cool. So, you know what you do when you want to find out things like, okay, so. What's Bob Carlisle up to these days? You know what you do? You turn over to the famous internet, and you say things like, "What is Bob Carlisle going? What's going on with Bob Carlisle?" Well, I figured we're going to talk to Bob Carlisle so we can ask him that question. But then, you scroll down, and it says people also search for, and then it gives you a whole bunch of other names of people that. So I'm going to give you a few of these names, and then you can choose whether you want to say something or else. Okay. First name is Clay Cross.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that guy?
I know what he's doing. He's just thinking. He's just dreaming about me.
Sure. Now I assume he's
my buddy.
The next guy is doing the same thing. Brian Duncan.
Brian Duncan is one of my dearest friends in the world. He's just doing what Brian does. He's been doing a lot of lyrics with me lately. He's a great lyricist too. So we've been working together.
Really? Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When you search for Bob Carlisle, these are other names that come up. B.B. Winans.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Lisa Bevel.
I did one project with him when with Clay and B.B. We did a trio project in a video. I forgot.
Now, that wasn't I Will Follow Christ, was it?
That's it.
Oh, that was a great song. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. All right, well, Russ Lee, of course, he's with New Song, so you're touring with him now. And then the next one kind of surprised me.
He's in the back of the bus.
Yep. The next one kind of surprised me, though. It says Sting.
Well, Sting does my underwear. He washes my underwear when I'm on the road. I call him Sting. I don't know what his name is, but
they must just
all my underwear and has them folded and put back for me.
Well, good. So you have the underwear connection with Sting, and then maybe they lump you guys together in sort of those high tenor voices. I don't really know how it all works, but
that's kind of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's super exciting, and I think
it was.
Well, I would think so. It was interesting because they told us, well, who do you want to talk to first on this tour? You can talk to Point of Grace, and you can talk to, like you said, New Song, and you can talk to Avalon, or you can talk to Bob Carlisle. And I said, well, I want to talk to Bob Carlisle.
Well, aren't you something? I appreciate it.
So here's the other thing that the problem with the internet, it's very misleading. So I type in your name, one of the first, and I'm sure you don't ever Google yourself, do you?
Not very often.
Okay, that's good. That leads to health problems, I've heard. But
I've heard. Just so you find out what things people are saying about you. I don't want to know.
Well, here's the best part about it. So you just Google the word Bob Carlisle, and of course a lot of people would misspell it, but and then it comes up with one of the, of course, Butterfly Kisses is there, and you want to hear that, kind of a fresh hearing of that. But then You go down a few more, and it says, what's Bob Carlisle doing these days? And so you click this video, and it's a guy wearing sunglasses, so you can't even see his eyes, and he's got a Batman flag in the background. And so it's obviously somebody who's truly established his credibility. And
I've seen this guy.
Okay.
With the dark shades on, and he just goes on and on.
Yeah, so it's about a 9-minute video titled "What is Bob Carlisle doing these days?" And for about 8.5 of the 9 minutes, he talks about your career, and he talks about butterfly kisses, and talks about all the wonderful things that you've done. And then he says, "Well, I don't really know what Bob Carlisle's doing these days."
Well, that's all right. He'll do me, but then the next one will be like Journey, and then Mick Jagger. He just I don't know how he got onto me, but.
And you're in pretty good rock and roll company.
Well, I don't like to brag.
Yeah. So maybe the best way to find out what in the world is Bob Carlisle doing besides the greatest hits tour these days is to ask Bob Carlisle, what's new?
I can help you. I've been kind of semi-retired for a while, just enjoying my wife and my kids and my grandkids, and I've decided to make a new record. It is not per se a Christian record, so I don't know how much mileage will get me. But it's a jazz, not jazz. It's kind of a soul record. The group's called Lil Bobby C and Big Motor.
Awesome.
And it's a horn band. It's a big. Think cross between Sly and the Family Stone and Tower of Power.
Beautiful.
Kind of that kind of thing. And I'm just having. It's my swan song. I think I'm just having fun.
I love
my old
that.
buddies. I moved back to California to all my buddies, and we decided to make a record together before we die.
Now you talk about your buddies. Now, just meant you talk about you've been, kind of working with Brian Duncan, and I know he loves kind of those soul sounds too. So, are you with him on this project at all?
No, he's doing a lot of writing with me on it. So.
Okay,
a lot of writing. Yeah. No, there's guys in this band. I can lay them off. I could name them off, but I don't know if any of your listeners would know who they are.
Sure. Well, we'll just let our ears do the listening once that makes its way.
As long as I have a excellent drummer percussionist, Efren Espinosa, and on bass Alex Drizos, and on the Hammond B3 clavinet and Fender Rhodes, I've got Anthony Patler. Horns are Glenn Myerscough and Alan Gregory, who toured for years with Andre Crouch. And Anthony Patler tours with Dave Mason right now. And we just all grew up together out there, and playing in bands and having fun and laughing. And they're some of the best players I've ever known in my life. And I was born and raised in California, and I moved out to Tennessee, as was the rule.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And was very fortunate, and decided to, long story shorter, decided to come back to Southern California and live. And we went out there anyway for about 7 years. My wife and I were caretakers for my mother, who, for the last 7 years of her life, she had Alzheimer's. And so when she passed, we decided to go ahead and stay out there. We just love it.
Well, that's great.
That's where I was born and raised there, so.
Well, that's fantastic, and I'm glad to hear. Certainly, sorry to hear of her loss, and glad to hear that you're doing some good things with your life and living in a arguably, the finest place in the mainland.
Well, I tell you, I love Tennessee. I really did. It was good to me, good for me. I love being in an artist community where you can't spit without hitting a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife we lived there for 10 years, and my wife was very, very kind and very, very patient, but I just always knew that it wasn't really her cup of tea.
Is she from the West Coast too?
Yeah. We met and were married in California 42 years ago.
Wow.
And so we wanted some sunshine, like that everyday kind. So we moved back.
Good for you.
We moved to Las Vegas for a short time. We lived in Franklin. We bought a second home in Las Vegas because, not for the reason most people think, gambling and the hookers. Oh no, we moved there because 42 years ago, we eloped and got married there.
Oh, okay.
Both sets of parents were behaving like children, so we decided to do the adult thing and elope.
Sure.
And that was 42 years ago, and here we are, four grandchildren, and happy as clams.
Well, I'm happy about that, and I'm glad. I'm super excited to see you on tour now. How long has it been since you've released a record? I guess is my next question.
I think the last one was the Nothing But the Truth album. It's been a while. It's probably like 2000. I don't know.
2008, somewhere around there, maybe.
Something like that. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to plan on making any more records, any more Christian records. I'm 62 years old, and touring isn't as fun as it used to be.
I believe it. Well, and I've heard you talk about the fact that I don't know if this is still the case, but I've heard you talk about the fact that when you go on tour with new songs, supposedly you ride in style and you got nice buses and things. Are they treating you okay on this tour?
Remarkable. I think that's one of the main reasons. Jake Carswell is an old buddy of mine from 30 years ago, back when I was with Allies, and before I was even a solo artist. And we just were buddies, have been, and he just invites me every once in a while to come out on a leg of this tour, and they just treat you like gold. I mean, the buses, he's got 3 buses, and they're all just tricked out and very comfortable. You don't want for anything. Everything's always stocked. Meals are always ready. These guys are wonderful, wonderful people, and they really know how to tour. And I think a lot of them are around my age, too, so they want to take care of themselves, and they understand I will, too.
I'm glad to hear that.
Wonderful, wonderful guys.
Yeah, no, that's what I've heard. So I'm curious now. I don't know if you're planning on playing any of your newer songs yet on the tour, but I am curious how many of your tracks from the Butterfly Kisses album you're able to get to on the Greatest Hits tour.
Well, several. I don't sing that long because there's so many artists on the tour. I do about 4 songs, but yeah, I do. So I do the ones that people know.
Sure.
And if I don't think they'd really appreciate what I'm doing now, even if I did it. Although I do have one gospel song on it, but it's not done. We're still recording it. We just finished basic tracks, and when I get back home, we're just starting on vocals and horns and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's not really ready to play for anybody yet.
Gotcha.
Ooh, it's good though.
All right. Now, do you know the name Chris Hauser? You happen to know that name?
It sounds familiar.
Okay.
But I think maybe it just need to be the last name Hauser. I'm not sure.
Okay, so Chris Hauser is a record label promoter type person, and I said, and he's pretty smart stuff with the Christian music going back years and stuff. And I wanted to get the scoop. I said, what do I need to ask Bob Carlisle? And he said, ask Bob Carlisle about the gang vocals. Let me make sure I get this right, because I've heard this story before. Ask him about being the gang vocals guy on Girls, 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 which I love. Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah, I must know him. Yeah, back in the 80s, there were three male vocalists in L.A., which is where I was living, and that did everything. They were the first call guys in L.A. to do vocals. It was Richard Page, Tommy Funderburk, and Tom Kelly. And Richard Page, I knew Tom Kelly very well because I was writing with him, and Richard Page had left the little trio he had a band called Mr. Mister back then.
Oh yeah,
they had taken off, and so he left. He was touring, so they pulled me into the ranks. And for the better part of the 80s, I just did nothing but hey, Russell. I did nothing but just double scale vocal sessions in L.A. on every record you could imagine. Yeah, Motley Crue, Poison, Crocus, L.A. Guns, Juice Newton, REO Speedwagon, Barry Manilow. It was everything you can think of. It was just a job,
Mm-hmm.
You go in and they put it in front of you, you sing it, you get your check, and you go. And I did a bunch of vocals on the Motley Crue record.
So are you saying? So people are listening to their Motley Crue record, their REO Speedwagon, or whatever it is, thinking that all the voices they're hearing are those artists, when in fact it's people like Bob Carlisle.
Yeah, no. Those guys, they're not all that good at it, you know? No, well, background vocal sessions, guys, are really kind of a special thing because they know how to, producers know that they know how to get it done right now, fast, together, in tune, and so they're willing to do that because a lot of the players, and especially some of those heavy metal bands, are kind of unavailable half the time.
Yeah.
They can't find them.
I love it. So what my favorite my favorite Bob Carlisle video is, because you have some videos online too.
Yes, sir.
My favorite Bob Carlisle video is the one where you're on Good Morning America, and I guess maybe they had not prepared too well for their interview because they thought that they said something along the lines of, well, you've sung Butterfly Kisses thousands of times and this and that, and but the most important performance of that's coming up pretty soon. And you said, well, I think that's actually already happened. And I think they were referring to probably the graduation ceremony of your daughter, Brooke, or something like that.
Yeah, back when she graduated from high school.
So she must have been around 18. I think you wrote that when she was around 16. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah, I wrote it and recorded it really several years before anybody else ever heard it.
Okay.
She just carried it around in her purse on a cassette. Remember those cassettes?
Yeah, right.
Well, she carried it around on that. It was just a song for her. And my wife had told me, oh, Bob, you got to put this on the record, And I said, honey, nobody wants to hear a stupid song about a guy and his kid.
Right. Mushy,
and
right?
She said, no, you need to put this on the record. And I still didn't want to. And I had a bunch of record company weasels over at my house one day in my office/studio. They wanted to hear the songs I was working on for the new record. And I was playing the stuff, and I really liked it, and they really liked it. And Jackie, my wife, the Countess, said, play them Butterfly Kisses. And she just insisted. So I finally said, I put the song on, and I left the room and let these guys listen to it. And the song was over. I came back in. They were all fell out on the floor and crying. And I said, well, maybe I ought to put this on the record.
Wow.
She reminds me of that every day.
Yeah, I'm sure she does, yeah. So it's this beautiful video of you, and like you do, you get on TV, you're standing up and you're singing Butterfly Kisses, and you got a couple instrumentalists with you, and it's in perfect 90s video fashion because as you're singing, the camera's cutting off, and they just have your daughter Brooke, who I guess is 17 or 18 at the time, standing off to the side, and they're just doing these beautiful close-ups of her lovely face as you're singing. It's just like the most beautiful live television montage of that song I've ever seen. So that's my favorite.
I remember it very well. It was very sweet. Oh, I love my little girl. Well, she's no little girl anymore now.
Yeah, what's Brooke doing these days?
She's married and has two wonderful of my grandchildren, a boy and a girl, and they're just as happy as clams, and we just love our grandbabies.
That's good. That's very good. Well, thank you for talking to us, Bob. Now I know. See, now I can do my own video online and try to usurp this guy in the sunglasses and say, I know what Bob Carlisle's doing now.
Yeah, you can easily usurp. And I'll tell you, thank you for actually doing at least a little bit of homework and not asking me things like, so how did you get started in music?
Yeah.
Well, always my favorite.
I never know. I just figured if I'm bored by the interview, you might be too. So let's not do that.
You're really good, man. Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon.
I'll see you tonight, buddy.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.